Georgia hemp law brings big changes for Savannah cannabis businesses. This year, Georgia's cannabis industry is seeing major shifts as the Georgia Hemp Farming Act, signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp in March, takes effect. The new legislation aims to crack down on legal loopholes, forcing hemp businesses across the state to adjust. At Hempire Hut, it's a cute name, in Savannah, owner Mike Johnson says customer numbers have dropped since the law went into effect in October. We've seen a reduction of customers, Johnson explained. The law prohibits products that exceed the legal THC limit of 0.3% for hemp, and Johnson predicts that tighter restrictions will push more businesses online where regulations are harder to enforce. The act introduces new requirements for licenses, stricter age limits, and zero-tolerance policy for anyone under 21 selling or possessing hemp products. The Georgia Department of Agriculture is now tasked with enforcing these rules. Deputy Director Bruce Stanford says the changes were necessary after discovering products with THC levels far beyond legal limits, some as high as 20 to 30%. That is not hemp. What we were finding was products whose THC level was in the 20 to 30% range, which is well above the 0.3%, said Stafford. While Johnson supports the intent of the law, he says businesses need clear guidelines on how to comply. As far as anything being in stone and as to who you can work with, who you can't, there's not anything, Johnson noted. Despite the challenges, Johnson is hopeful that public perception of cannabis can shift over time. If they could change the stigma from high to healing, that would be awesome, he said. For now, Georgia's hemp industry is adjusting to new, stricter reality. So here's the thing. As someone who sold weed in Georgia, if you want to sell weed in Georgia, go right ahead. Georgia law would prefer you did not, but go right ahead. But at least do what you say you're doing. Like, this isn't even exploiting a loophole. This isn't like random cannabinoids that you pulled out of some mother liquor and whatever and synthesized and whatnot. This is weed, right? 20 to 30% is the same thing that you see on the shelves in California. So maybe spend that time, instead of trying to say this is hemp and whatever, just be honest about what you're doing. And I hope that Georgia can come forward with some kind of program that is meaningful, and we can get some kind of regulation, and we can get something that will create an industry that is not run by Kim fucking Rivers, because I swear to God, the fact that she has a low THC dispensary in Georgia already pisses me off enough. But I would like to see some kind of regulation. And until you do that, like, this is, I don't think that, all right, I want to sell it with operators usually, but this is not confusing. Saying you need to have it below the legal level of THC is very straightforward. If you don't know how to check COAs, then maybe you shouldn't be operating if you still, with that guidance, don't know who to buy from. Because if you're selling 20 to 30% product, you are selling what, Jason Beck? Weed.
THCA.
No.
You know, I think it's a little disingenuous for this guy, Johnson, to say if they could change the stigma from high to healing, that would be awesome. You know, it's important for us to understand that human beings with our endocannabinoid systems use cannabis to create homeostasis, but that doesn't mean everything is medical. And getting rid of the stigma of cannabis use doesn't mean that all of it should be masquerading as medicine. And it's okay for human beings to just want to feel different or get high. But like, this dude's he's selling hemp, and hemp that's way above the 0.03. The law that they're talking about makes it age restricted so that it's 21 and up. Like, how am I supposed to be upset about that? Like, that doesn't seem like a terrible thing at all. Like, do I want somebody under 21 being able to get high so much? Did I do it before I was 21? Probably. Do I want my 100%. Kids to have the same path that I did? No. Do I want the state to sanction people getting high who are young and still developing? Not at all. Not at all. So I don't understand what this guy's problem is. Go sell a bunch of CBD bath bombs to some middle-aged soccer moms and quit your bitching.
Well, yeah, I think like this is change it from high to healing. Why don't you change the name of your store from Hemp Hut to Trap? Because that's what this is.
Well, shout out to Kush Queen, man. Those are some good CBD bath bombs back in the day.
Let's discuss the medical program, though. Georgia has a two or a handful of licensed operators.
It's a subpar.
We've actually consulted one of them and helped them gain some efficiency with their distillation system and their operations and SOP. And these guys are small now, but they are going to grow. Those guys are established as a state licensed entity that's able to handle high THC cannabis. So there is a parallel program, but also because there's all these opportunists and there's no there's no information from like our federal government, which is really mishandling all this by keeping by allowing this, right? It's like, just make one system, just create a situation where all of the operators can like co-inhabitate the space and use all of the resources they have instead of synthetically, converted cannabinoids that are, patented or, that are available in 50 states, but they're not. Like, I would say that's the farthest from cannabis that we've gotten, and that's what's become legal. That's a problem. And the problem is that that's perpetuated at the highest levels of academia. These are PhDs that are perpetuating this, that are saying that you should, put this in products, or you should smoke this or whatever. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. This plant grows from the ground. Tell me when something that came out of the ground was worse than something that a lab created, and I'll shut up. But
I agree with you 100%. I think you really, really hit the nail on the head, which is every single one of these states that bolts on some sort of hemp policy, it's a byproduct of inaction by the federal government. I riffed and ranted about it yesterday. Farm Bill hasn't been updated since 2018. They're punting.
Doesn't need to.
Really?
No. I'm good with
It's
it.
supposed to be updated every 5 years, Jason.
Of all the things that have ever come out of your mouth, with the exception of bad breath in the morning,
just triggering
that is
out of
the
you right
least
now.
awful
It is
thing
working.
you have ever said publicly. I will give you 30 seconds to retract it before I never let you live it down.
Go ahead, Rico. I don't have.
Agent of chaos.
Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem with that. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good with it.
I mean, look, just because it came to mind doesn't mean it should have came to mouth. That is the silliest thing that has ever come out of that orifice of yours.
I don't know.
It's not true, but it's up there. That's not true, but it's up there.
The truth is, we should have had an updated farm bill. We should have guidance. We should have guidelines that apply to all 50 states. We should have cannabinoids differentiated between psychotropic versus non-psychotropic. We should have a bit more regulation on the hemp side and a lot less regulation on the cannabis side. We should have parity. And until the federal government does something about it, we're going to continue to criticize the merits and faults of state attempts to bolt on something that's a bit more reasonable than an antiquated farm bill from, 5
Yes, and until then, all you have is Parody Gummy, which you can get at parodygummy.com.
Exactly. www.parodygummy.com. Make sure to secure your bag
that's
today.
going to continue to be exploited.
Yarrow, are you down to share your D8MT base pen that you have there?
I don't consume D8, and I probably should. I'm a relic of a bygone era, and in my mind, as somebody who has used cannabis for more than a minute and grew up around cannabis, I still have a proclivity for the things that come from the cannabis plant. And that's not to say that hemp is bad or inferior. I tried a couple D8 gummies so that I could say I had tried it. I tried a couple hits off a D8 pen, and then I said, I've done that. I've tried it. It was like a no thank you bite. It was like escargot. Like, I'm not ever going to a restaurant to try escargot. Did I try it once or twice and take a no thank you bite so I could say I was open mouthed and open minded? Yes, but it's not my preference.
Rico, what's
Open mouth, huh?
What's the height limit for people once they have grown up?
What do you mean the height limit to get on which ride?
The ride of life.
Oh man, you know what?